Oh my goodness. Welcome back to Parenting in the Trenches. Goodness sakes, I had the wrong intro. I apologize for that. I wanted to make sure that we flipped it over correctly. So, welcome to Parenting in the Trenches. My apologies for that mistake today. I'm Tanya Farron, co host of Parenting in the Trenches, along here with my other co host. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Dr. Tanya, it's Dr. Qureshi here, all the way from Towson, Maryland, doing our first Parenting in the Trenches episode in 2026. So I hope you are as excited as I am as we continue this journey of disseminating information into all the beautiful parents out in the world, while recognizing that there's been a big snowstorm that hit us this past weekend. So it definitely, I'm sure everyone's parenting skills were challenged the last few days.
I would say so, right? Snowed in with your family or cold weather in, iced in with your family. Wow, it really does put some of those parenting skills to the test, along with patience and purpose. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of things like that tonight. Excited to be here with you. Like, Happy New Year. This is the first you and I have got to hang out this year. We've hardly been able to connect since the new year has begun. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has been a long, wonderful year last year with some amazing things that have happened. Last time we were on the podcast, I was away for some time too. Had a beautiful trip back home. Um, Made some of my goals come true, actually. We talk a lot about manifestation. So I feel like 2025, I did really well in manifesting a lot of the goals that I had, personal and professional, that I had set for ourselves. So yeah, happy New Year's to you. It's a little rocky, I'm gonna say. The year did end a little rocky, so I'm still figuring out my vibes for this year and just transitioning into a few new things that have happened at the end of last year. But I'm feeling blessed, I'm feeling grateful, and ready to knock this year out with some bang bang.
Yeah, I love that. I love the energy and the excitement and the enthusiasm. It's hard to believe we're already to the end of what are we, January 27th already? Like the whole first month of 2026 is almost gone. And that's it's amazing how fast time is really going. But I agree, when I look back at last year, I look back and so many people do those very beginning of the year looking back at last year. But when I look back now, even at last year, like it was so great. Like our accomplishment of, we didn't host just 12 sessions, which we had originally planned, but we
Mhm.
hosted more than that. There were some months that we had two and maybe even three sessions that we hosted of parenting in the trenches. And that has been really, really fun to do. And, we wanted to kick this one off this year about goal setting with it being in January. And I've been
Mhm.
thinking a little bit about goal setting, and I'll drop some things in the chat here later. But, you know, a lot of times we do goal setting at the beginning of a year just because it's new, it's fresh. People
Mhm.
feel like this is a new start, but there's lots of times in the year that we can practice goal setting. So whether you're watching this in June or you're watching this in January of 26 or January of 27, if you've dug down into our feed, you know, we hope that you find some things in here to help you with your parenting purpose and some goal setting this year.
Yeah, and I want to start off by talking about New Year's resolutions. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's very, very important to get it out there in terms of where I stand on New Year's resolutions. I think it's just a way for us to fail when we call something a resolution. Why? Because I think we put a lot of stress on ourselves, right? To stick to that resolution,
Yeah.
right? And there's a reason why it's called a New Year resolution, right? It comes at the top of the year. Some people may even have birthday resolutions. Some people may have, you know, I mean, I don't know, like I want to get my beach body back, right?
Hmm.
That's
Sure.
a very common New Year's resolution when people are working
Yes.
towards vacationing in the summer. They're like, yeah, I'm working towards that summer beach body, right? So yeah, I think the concept of resolution is a good one. Yet, I don't know many people that can say I accomplished my resolution, right? So I think part of what I want everyone to know is that there needs to be a shift from New Year's resolutions to new goals or restarting goals or being purposeful in our goals. So, this is what I want to accomplish for the next 12 months or 6 months. So, a lot of times during this time, and also in December, when I'm working with different clients and families, right? I ask them, where were you last year at this time?
Hmm.
Where are you now as you reflect on your journey last year at this time?
Yeah.
And then my third question is, where do you want to be next year at this time?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what sparks the conversation around goal setting. That's what sparks the conversation around intentionality and purposefulness, right? Because those are the ways that we need to move. A lot of times what I see in resolutions is people will have one, but it's not realistic. And there's no thought behind it. Right? Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop smoking. Okay, well, how are you going to do it? I'm just going to stop. Buddy, if it was that easy, what happened the last 10 years?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Wouldn't it be done? Right.
Yes, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, the idea and the concept is great, but the implementation of it, it's not realistic. In fact,
Right.
it can lead to feelings of failure and shame as well.
Sure.
So part of what we want to talk about is intentionality, right? What is intentionality exactly?
Right. I agree. And I want to just go back to that. I think resolutions, I do agree that they set you up for failure because you're putting a really harsh kind of most of the time we're putting harsh, big moves into a plan. Like you said, get that beach body back. So I'm going to go from not working out at all to working out every single day and a scarcity diet. That is really setting yourself up for failure, right? Or
Listen,
I'm
I'm
going to,
trying that. I'm
you
trying
know,
that. It's not working.
it doesn't work.
Not
It doesn't
working.
work.
It
It
actually
doesn't,
makes me want to have more sweets. The things
right?
I shouldn't be eating now.
Right. Instead of saying things that will, I'm going to start walking 3 times a week, and then I'm going to start adding this in, and then starting adding this in. So it just kind of reminds me back, if you've read anything or read any Atomic Habits, and you look about habit stacking and building upon habits, things
Mhm.
like that, that'll help that. But I do agree. I think that, goals are, can be quite lofty sometimes. So scaling those back is a good thing. And, living your life with intention, I think that is amazing to think about. And
Mhm.
so intentionality to me, right, means that I'm, and I'm trying not to use the word purpose, but I keep wanting to bring in the word purpose, because if I'm being intentional, I'm doing something on purpose. I
Mhm.
am being purposeful in my thoughts and my planning and what I'm doing. And so I think that when you're intentional, you're doing something that is purposeful for yourself. And I think focusing on intentionality is important. Can you say anything about intentionality without using the word purpose? I'm challenging you, challenging you, Dr. Seuss. I'm
I
challenging you.
actually can. You know why? Because I looked up the definition before I got on here,
All
okay?
right,
I
tell me,
wanted to have all the right words to
tell me,
describe
tell me.
intentionality. But the reason why I giggle, Dr. Tanya, is because I'm literally looking at on my screen purposeful parenting, and purposeful parenting has the word intentional in it. So when I
Sure.
giggled and you said, well, I don't know what else word to use, and I'm like, well, purposeful parenting has intentionality in it, so that means intentionality probably has purpose in it,
Right.
right? But with that, I think what I would describe, let me make an attempt to describe intentionality without the word purpose. So to me, intentionality is being self-aware of your thoughts, your behaviors, your feelings, right? Everything in your psyche, and moving in a direction where you can achieve a certain goal.
Mm-hmm.
That is moving with intention. I want to go to college. Okay. I want to start in the fall. Okay. Let me spend 2 hours a day looking at what program I want. Here are my choices. I want to go to school for counseling. No, I want to do accounting. Okay. What schools? Do I want to commute? Do I want to go out of state? Do I want private? Do I want financial aid? What is it going to look like? So every day you wake up with the intent to check off a goal, a step that leads you to your goal of going back to school in this fall. That is moving with intention. How did I do?
I think you did perfect. I think that was absolutely beautiful. Very good. Very good. And
So
it's
how,
yeah.
so
It's
how
so
does that relate to parenting, right? We're talking about parenting and it's the top of the year. We're talking about purposeful parenting and setting that as a goal. So, Dr. Tanya, tell us a little bit about your parenting
yeah.
in terms of how
I would,
purposeful it is.
yes, absolutely. And I would say again, and you have the background in psychology and therapy, and I have the background in education and parenting. And, I will tell you that it has evolved.
Mm-hmm.
It has evolved. My parenting definitely started in one place and has ended. Well, I shouldn't say it's ended. It hasn't ended. I still parent. As we've always talked about, it's a lifetime commitment. But it has definitely evolved, and the intentionality and the purpose behind it has always been, to care and love for my children and to guide them into the directions, to help them lead a very successful, fulfilling life for themselves. And that's always been my intention. Now, I was fortunate in the sense that, my husband and I planned our children. Not everyone gets to plan their children when they're ready to be parents. Some people are very young teenage parents. Some people are much older than we were. Some people go a very interesting route to become parents, but we were able to plan ours. And I knew that, we wanted that, and we were going to be intentional and purposeful with our parenting, and have lots of conversations together about parenting, that we were going to parent as a team. Now, I don't know that I really knew what that meant, but I knew that's what I wanted. And I want to go back to this manifestation piece, because we didn't really hit that yet with intentionality. And I want to talk about this. So as a parent, we need to have an idea in our mind of what we want our families to be like, what we want our life to be like. And we want to start really thinking and focusing on that. And I'm going to give you an example. As children, young kids, they often do a pretend moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a child wants to be a professional baseball player, guess what? He has named himself Albert Pujols, or he has named himself Alex Rodriguez, or whomever, when he plays ball outside with his friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get to be that person. They manifest that. They practice it. They emulate their behaviors. They follow what they're watching on TV, and then they maybe become a really great athlete. Maybe they don't make it to, the Angels or the Yankees, but they've potentially played baseball for many years, maybe have been a successful player, but they start kind of manifesting and becoming this person, right? So when you learn about and you want to be a great parent, you need to start following and watching other parents and start manifesting. What do you want your parenting journey to be like? What do you want your home to be like? How do you want to love your children? How do you want your children to respond back to you?
Mm-hmm.
So much to say. I'm going to go ahead and take a pause there, because I said a lot in that little bit. Give you some chance to kind of digest it and respond.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think let's just say one of the privileges you had was being purposeful in deciding when you wanted to have kids.
Correct.
Right? To be intentional, to be ready for it, right? There's certain things you line up, decide, okay, we're ready to be parents. You make it happen. You go to your doctor's appointment, then you get your room together, you paint it, you have your
Right.
nursery, your baby shower, all of that, right? That is all intentional. And then bam, let's guess what happens. You're a first-time parent. You read all the books that you possibly can, but now it's this beautiful human in front of you and you don't know what to do. Even though the book says, yeah, tap, suits.
Right.
So there is that educational piece of learning something, and then there is that experiential life piece
Yes.
where you have to be ready to rearrange things around
Mm-hmm.
and be flexible. And that's why we started parenting in the trenches, right? Because those are the lived experiences that are difficult. And in that, I think one of the things that is very consistent in parenting, you lose yourself in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever met a parent that said, I didn't lose myself in my children.
Yes.
Some do better than others, no
Right.
doubt, depending on what kind of resources you have. But most parents, there's a piece of them that just like is put to the side for a long period of time while they're on their parenting journey. And
Yes.
in that, there's so many balls thrown at you that even when you're intentional, you end up being unintentional in how you're showing up because you have to juggle those balls. I mean, listen, I can't juggle. If someone threw something at me, it's going to hit me right in my nose right now. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh.
Right.
So I think everybody has the intention of being a great parent,
Mm-hmm.
yet it doesn't play out the way that we envision because life is changing at a higher speed than we can catch up.
Exactly.
I was
Exactly.
actually, I don't know who I was talking to recently, but I was talking about every generation has something new to deal with, period, that we are not ready for. So, like,
True.
my generation didn't have social media issues, right? But
Right.
we had other issues. This new generation has social media issues. The next generation is going to be something else. We may be living on a different planet.
We don't know. It could
So,
happen.
in that, what I want people to think about, at least as it kind of coming together for the purpose of this podcast today, is what is my parenting going to look like this year? What are the things that I am doing really well in? And what are the things I'm not doing really well in that I want to work on? And then once you have identified that, you want to look at how am I going to get to those goals? Right? But you gotta have a goal. So if your goal is to spend more quality time with your family, well, what does that mean? Well, I gotta clock out at 5 o'clock, not 6:30, and I need to be home, right? Or I need to plan more movie nights or game nights, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to spend more time individually with each one of my kids to develop a different relationship, but also recognizing they're in different stages of their life, right? So, like, it could be so many different broad things, but it's that intentionality. What do I want in my parenting journey? What's working and what's not working? And this is not working. This is how I need for it to be working for me.
Sure. And so what I want to say is if you're watching this video right now, I want you to pause this video and I want you to get a piece of paper and start writing a list.
Mhm.
What do you want your parenting journey to look like this year? What do you want to change? What do you want to look different?
What do you want to keep? What did you do? First, I would start with what did you do well? Man, we rocked it.
Yeah. We made it to school on time every day this year, or 50% of the time, or 75% of the time we made it. What was the thing that you did great in? I love that. And then start making a list, of some of the things that you are wanting to do differently. What did you do well? What do you want to change? And start kind of brainstorming. So pause the video, make your brainstorm list, and start thinking about it. Because as Dr. Q said, our lives do evolve, and what our children need as infants and what our children need as toddlers and as elementary students, preschool, elementary, middle school, high school, college, are all different. And so taking that moment to evaluate, where are my children? What ages and stages of life are they in? Where's our family? And we've talked a lot about the grief in December. We've talked about that in other areas of our shows. Has your family dynamic changed? Has there been a divorce? Have you added a family member? Have you had a person pass away in the family? What does our family look like now? Have you added a pet? Have you added a grandparent? There's a lot of different factors that can happen. And so what does our family dynamic look like now? And what do we need to do to manage us as a family? So kind of take all of that in and think about that, and what you need to do.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dr. Tanya, and it reminds me of a exercise that I often do with my families is like, what has our family been through this year,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like, what have we, I mean, of course, the accomplishments, right? But like, what have we lost, grieved? What are some of those significant events that have changed, brought change into our family, right? And what did that mean? And what is it going to look like this year as we
Right.
heal and grow together?
Right.
I can't tell you how many times parents come in here and they're like, we didn't do anything last year. We didn't accomplish anything last year.
You start unpacking that box.
And I'm like looking at them and I'm like, because I've been seeing you for like 2 years. And I'm like, I was like, wait, from what I remember, I don't think any of your kids missed any practices. You were always taking them to every practice. And your kids were involved in 2 to 3 activities after school, and you didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're right, Dr. Q, we didn't. I'm like, yo, you better than me. Because if it was my job, I'd be like, no, you get 1 activity. One.
I love that. I
Because
love
I'm
that.
not running ragged because of you.
Right. And you do, and and if you're not intentional in these things, like we just said to do, then you start to lose yourself, like Dr. Q said. And what happens when you lose yourself as a parent, you don't just all of a sudden lose yourself. It's just a sort of gradual thing that happens, and you don't realize it. You go from 1 week of not doing those things that you used to do, and then think, oh, I'll do it next week. Maybe I do it once, and then the next week, maybe I never do it. And then 2 weeks, I don't do it. And you start to lose those things of yourself. And so if you don't take that time to really think about, where are you? What have you done well? What do you want to do differently for your family? And you're not purposeful in that parenting, then it's just it's a show, guys. Come and go as you please. And it can be very chaotic. And guess what? It's still chaotic. My family was chaotic still. It still happens. You can be as purposeful and intentional, but life happens, as Dr. Q has said. It rains outside, the dog comes in, the mud is everywhere, the knocks over the table, the dish. You've seen the scene in all of the movies, right? Sometimes it gets chaotic, even when you're purposeful and you're working your hardest at it. And that's okay too. That's okay.
This your dog scene reminds me of that movie. What is it called? Where it's Adam Sandler and the kids. I think it's part 2, Grown Ups.
Grown Ups.
When the deer in the beginning.
Yes.
Deer runs.
I think I was thinking of like the newer the Cheaper by the Dozen, I think, with Steve Martin. And they have a whole house full of kids. And I think the dog was chasing a kid through the house. That's kind of the vision I had in my head. Because it happens. Like, that's real life too. So yeah. So let's do this purposeful parenting here. So we've got 6 key principles known as the 6 P's of purposeful parenting. Do you want to start with the first one?
Yeah, definitely. So let's get the definition of purposeful parenting
Oh,
first out of
sure.
the way, right?
Sure.
Because I think
Yeah.
there's a few things that are in here that are very important to note, a few words. So purposeful parenting is defined as intentional, it's an intentional approach to raising children that emphasizes empathy, communication, and the development of strong, supportive relationships. So, what is it? Empathy, communication, and strong, supportive relationships. That's what purposeful parenting means.
Mhm.
Okay. And in that, there are, like Dr. Tanya says, there are 6 P's. Okay. It's the 6 P's of purposeful parenting. Okay. The first one is what? Come on.
Being purposeful. Ta-da!
The first P is purposeful. And what does that mean? It means being clear about your parenting goals and the values you want to instill in your children.
And that's a lot.
That's like a whole life's worth of that never ends.
That's a lot. Like that is a mouthful, right? Being clear about your parenting goals, which we just said are going to change every year. Every 6 months, they could even change what your parenting goals are, depending on what your children are doing, and the values that you want to instill in your children.
Mhm.
And, we start out knowing some values that we want to instill. And then as we go through life, and if we're emulating other people or we're learning from other people, other cultures, we may want to instill some of those values in too. So those are also ever changing,
Yeah.
as we're going through our parenting practices.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to note here, right? Like there's these standard values, right? Like every parent wants to instill in their children, right? Which is what? Honesty, hard work, respect, responsibility, right? All of
Mhm.
that. And then there are culturally driven values too, right? So it's a
Mhm.
broad range of things. And when you're thinking about values, you want to be open to the idea that the values are gonna, I guess, evolve and like blossom as time goes on as your child gets older. Right? So, like, think about it, the concept of honesty, right? When you start having that conversation about a truth and a lie,
Mhm.
right? And again, age developmental things.
I was going to say, really kind of, it just depends on when it comes up in the family sometimes too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We don't always think about teaching those virtues, right? Of honesty and trust and love and compassion and all of that until sometimes it's a teachable moment,
Yeah.
or we're modeling it anyway.
Well, usually the most natural thing to do when you're role modeling is using teachable moments, right?
Mm,
That's
right.
because you can keep telling your child, right? We value honesty. We value honesty, right? And then you turn around and lie about something really small to the co-parent and they're like, "What's
I
going on
thought
over
you
here?"
valued honesty. Yeah.
Right? So or you're hiding something, yeah, right? Someone asks you a
Right.
question and you're hiding something, right? So values are learned through modeling, and I think one of the things that is very difficult that comes in my work is around the emotional regulation,
Mm.
right? Why is it hard for my child to calm down? Why do they get angry? Why are they hitting their sibling? Well, at some point they've seen, and I'm gonna give our parents credit. They try to do their best. There's no
Mhm.
parent out there that says go punch your sibling, right? But somewhere, somehow, that behavior is learned and it has been seen to be effective, right?
Yes.
And then the discipline isn't there.
Mhm.
So it continues.
Yeah.
But we can talk about discipline over punishment all day, every day.
Every day, all day.
Okay, and maybe that could be our next podcast, the difference between consequences and punishment. Did we cover that last year?
No, it's on our list. Don't worry.
Okay. All
We
right,
still
cool.
have a list, y'all. Don't worry. We've got a list and it just keeps growing and changing and evolving.
Because
So
parenting is, you can't, I'm telling you, you can't hop off that roller coaster once you got it on.
like a spider web, it's just everywhere. Everyone links to another one, But yeah, it definitely, we do instill the values in our families by the way we model it and the way we emulate it. And so, for example, if your family maybe prays before a meal or goes to church on a Saturday, you're instilling those values by modeling that already without even having that conversation. That's being instilled in them. If the family believes that the man should open the door for the woman, you're instilling that value in your family. If however the family values come about, whatever you're modeling is what your children are picking up. They're watching you. You're your child's first teacher, and that is so critical to know. So yeah, being purposeful about that. So think about that. If you don't want your kids talking back, think about where does that stem from. So some of those behaviors that you're seeing, think about where did that originate from possibly for your kids, and see if you can make a correction there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot. We can go on about purposeful
Oh boy.
parenting all day. So let's go on to the second P.
Yeah. Let's go into, I'm sorry, I lost it here. Protective. Definitely protective, ensuring that your child feels safe and secure in their environment. And that is important for our kids, for their own sense of security, their own sense of self and their security, because that is going to stay with them through adulthood, right? So if they are feeling safe and secure at home with you and they feel safe like that, and we can teach them how to transfer those emotions and feelings and regulations into their personal lives, into the real world, then we're really being able to transfer that virtue of protection for them. And really, I think protection for our kids does not always mean that they are sheltered, but communication is a big piece in protection. So communication meaning, you're 16. I do not want you to go to that party tonight. I'm not sheltering you for a reason that I just don't want you to go. There is something behind it. I'm afraid that there's going to be drugs or alcohol or a person there or something. Yeah. It's a dangerous neighborhood. I'm protecting you. And I always tell my kids, let me be the bad guy. Blame it on me. I'm okay with that. My mom won't let me go. She's so crabby. She just will not let me go. Great.
I'm uncool because my mom won't let me go anymore.
My mom won't let me go. It's her fault. She is just a witch. Perfect. I don't care. And they loved it. It was the perfect out for them to know that I cared about them. My husband and I cared about them. We loved them, and we could be their out, right? Or even little ones, protecting them from, harm. Watching your children is so important. Even the little ones, from, the stove, watching where they're at, the staircase, things like that, of showing them protection. I care about you. I don't want you to get burned. I care about you. I don't want you to fall down the stairs. Let's move you over here. And that communication piece is so important with protection, I think.
Yeah, I think the communication is very important in all of these, right? Like it's the core of developing strong, healthy relationships. And I want to add here, I want to add a few little things right here when it says ensuring your child feels safe and secure in their environment. And what I want to add here is recognizing that there is a physical environment, right? But then there is emotional spaces too. There is social spaces too. There is spiritual or religious spaces too. When we're talking about safety and security, it doesn't just stop in the four walls of your home, right? It's about feeling emotionally safe to be able to come and talk to you and say, hey, I'm being bullied in school because I'm wearing a hijab, mom, or my hijab got pulled today.
Yeah.
Instead of shoving it in the locker because you can't tell your parents that you want to take it off because you're being bullied. And
Mhm.
that was me. I shoved my hijab in the locker in 7th grade
Mhm.
because they forced me to wear it. I didn't want to wear it because I was bullied. It was already enough that I got made fun of because of my food and my accent and my clothing. I was like, I'm not wearing this hijab, but I didn't feel emotionally safe to tell my parents I don't want to wear it. So I shoved it in my locker. I pretended to wear it.
Yeah.
We put it on every day when I got on the bus.
Mhm. I'm sure
Like,
that
you
was
gotta
hard,
create that
right?
space.
Sure.
You got to create that space because their experiences are so real. And
Yeah.
when we look back, one of the things as adults we forget that, like, because we've been through it and we overcame it, we know they'll get there, but we lose sight of the moment when we were in their shoes and how big that thing was.
Yes. To us, it seems small, but to
We've been
them,
there, we've overcame it, and we're great, right? We're like, if I didn't get bullied, I wouldn't be this awesome.
right. And there's a protection piece of a child. Like, you also didn't want to tell your parents about that. You're kind of protecting them from what was going on, in a sense, protecting yourself from having to have that conversation with them, but having that door open, and talking to your kids about it. A lot of times, my husband and I, even today, if there's a situation, my husband's like, we can take care of ourselves. We're good. You don't have to worry about hurting our feelings. Like, it's okay. And I think as a parent, saying that to your kids, like, you're not going to hurt my feelings for telling me the truth.
I'm a big boy.
I can handle it. Tell me the truth. I need to know. And I think opening that door of checking in, your parents probably didn't know. I don't know. Did you ever tell them that
No,
in
I
seventh
got caught.
grade you got caught?
I got
Because,
caught, and then I was like, I'm not wearing it. I'm sorry.
yeah. And so the world didn't end at that moment. And
It
kids,
did not. It sure did not. I did feel like it would.
you felt like it was going to, like, they're going to kill me, right? How many times did kids say that? They're going to kill me. They're not. They're just going to, it was important to your family culture, that you wear it. And for them to be able, you didn't want to hurt them. You didn't want to let them down either. And so there's that protection piece for both sides of the family, and always opening that door and being able to say, did anything happen today that you want to talk about? And that is also letting them know they can come to you. You're the parent. You've opened the door. What do you want to talk to me about today? Did anything good happen? Tell me something good. Tell me something that was not so good today. And that kind of allows them that now I'm in a protective, safe space that I can probably tell you something.
Yeah, and those are great questions. And I think those are the things we end up missing on a day-to-day basis, or even week to week, like just checking in. How has your week been? What's been
Mhm.
great about it? What's been good about it? And what not so good, right? I think we lose sight of that because why? Because it requires intentionality, mindfulness, and practice.
Yeah,
You have to squeeze in the time to have those conversations, not
sure.
just go, 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 go. Like, step back, take a deep breath, ask yourself, have I connected with my child this week?
Yes.
And
And
how?
I want to say this with one of my daughters, we've all done therapy together, separate, the whole family. So much great things came out of it. And in fact, one of them that came out of it was our check-in. And that was something that came out through therapy, was that she didn't want to come to me and tell me what was going on. But if I asked her, she would feel comfortable and safe to tell me. Now, doesn't that as an adult sound like kind of backwards? But it wasn't. It made perfect sense to her. And it was so easy that I knew that once a week, we had made an agreement that I would go into her room and ask. And I think those are things that parents, we don't realize that we need to check in. They look fine. They seem fine. They seem happy. They're getting okay grades, right? We kind of do like this over scan, but we haven't stopped and asked them, how are you really today?
Mhm. Well, that reminds me of what we did our last end of our last podcast, the masks we wear,
Yes.
right?
Yes. In December.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, one thing us humans have mastered is masks,
Yes, we have. Yes.
right? So I think, what I would say is don't judge a book by its cover, right? Like
Hmm.
talk to them, create
Hmm.
that space because you're also indirectly showing them a value, teaching
Hmm.
them a value of open communication,
Hmm.
value of safety, value of your voice. You have a voice and you can make decisions. We're here for you.
Yes.
Use your voice, express yourself.
Yes. And you're leading right into the next P, personal.
Yes, personal.
Recognizing, recognizing and respecting your child's individuality and unique needs,
Mhm.
right? Recognizing that. I love that I have two completely different daughters. I absolutely love it. It is, and I tell people this, and I hope you all embrace your children and their individuality. I tell people this because my daughters have completely different decorating styles, and I think that is the coolest thing. And guess what? They're completely different than mine. So all three of us have completely different decor that we love in our homes, and I love that. I love
Yeah.
going to someone because I love it. And so and that's just like one example of individuality. And even as littles, like you'll notice little ones, the way they want to dress is different or unique, or their colors, or the toys that they gravitate towards. Allow them that individuality if they want to. Again, we don't have to have these gender roles that say, if it's you're a girl, you have to have a doll. If you're a boy, you have to have a car. Why can't we have them all? Why can't we play with them all? And so, embracing that individuality and fun with your kids and respecting them is really can be fun. Like it can be so much fun as a parent to
Yep.
do that and recognize how different your kids are. And it's okay that they don't want to be what you are.
Most kids don't.
They don't want to be you.
They look at you and they're like, nah, I don't want that life.
My kids do not want to be a teacher. No. And they've
Mhm.
told me my youngest wanted to for a long time and then tried it out and said, no, thank you. That is not for me. And I respected that. And I think some parents sometimes have a hang up about that, but allow your kids to be who they want to be. And think about, gosh, darn, Dr. Q, let me tell you where I've been from, right? Started out working at Walmart as a checker, then I worked at the Limited, and then I worked at the chiropractor, and then I went to school. Like, how many jobs have I had? Now I have podcasts, and I didn't see this 10 years ago in my life.
Absolutely. I didn't see this like 2 years ago.
Right? I know, right? And so, and allow them their own individuality and creativity and who they are. And
Yeah,
ask them who they are. Ask them what they want. What do they like?
yeah, that's very, very important. And I think I think na- honoring their individuality and allowing them to kind of like find their own direction is very important, especially if you are the second, third, or fourth child. Why? Because there's already so much pressure from older siblings or siblings that may, let's just say, that have been able to meet their goals in a timely manner and you feel like you're behind, right? Like often what I see in sibling, um, let's say sibling problems, right? Conflict. It's usually, well, my mom or dad keep comparing me to this person. I don't want to be like them.
Mhm.
Or I can never be good enough because my sister is, is an engineer, or my sister got married and she has kids and that's valued more, right? Like it's that comparison that actually kicks them down too, because trust and believe they already know where they're hurting. They know where they're struggling. So when you're comparing your children, one child to the other, you're again taking away from their lived experiences. And if it
Hmm.
was that easy, I think they would have figured it out already, but it's not.
Yeah.
So even with all the right intentions, I think a lot of times parent and their comparison ways is very detrimental. Like, why can't you be like
Totally.
this?
Yes. 100%.
Well, I don't really want to be like this. Can I just be me?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it was really fun. I had told you earlier that I had my mom and her sister out here. Now, I don't have a sister. Do you have a sister, Dr. Q?
Mhm.
You do. So I don't have a sister. I don't understand a sister relationship. I just have a brother.
Mhm.
And my brother and I always got along pretty well. Never really fought, still get along really well. We kind of did our separate paths in our careers and things like that. But my mom and her sister at the table were really bickery and fighting. And then the next minute, I love you. I love you too, sister. You're my, you know. And so I texted my daughters and said, this is the most bizarre thing I've experienced. And they said, oh, we get it. Like, this is when you share the same DNA. No, we get this. Like, that makes perfect sense. Nobody can pick on my sister but me. But, right. And the reason I'm saying that is I'm thinking about this, their personalities and being different. And
Mhm.
it's okay for them, right? But they don't want you to judge them, match them up to each other, right? They don't want that. They want to be individual, but
Mhm.
they also want to be connected, to each
Yeah, and
other.
you are. Why? Because you're raised in the same family, even though every child gets different parents, you still
Yeah.
get similar.
Yeah.
You're in the
Sure.
same culture, right? In the
Right.
family culture. Um, so yeah, I think in wrapping personal, right? Um, meet your kid where they're at. Think about age wise. Where are they age? Where are they in terms of their own development, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, financially,
Sure.
spiritually, right? Meet them where they're at and let them know that you love them regardless of where you think they should be at 30.
Agreed. Agreed.
So,
Everyone in their own
for the
time,
sake of
right?
time, we have about a little bit more than
Yep.
10 minutes. So, number four, the fourth P is progressive. This one is very, very, very important all the time, right? And it has to do with adapting your parenting strategies as your child grows and develops.
Mm-hmm.
And
I knew
that could
that.
be
Yeah.
like within 2 weeks, you got to switch it up because it ain't working,
Right.
right? Or it could be different age groups.
Yeah, I'm going to slide this over for a second because I'm going to show everyone this for a minute just so we can talk about this. But in my book, Raising the Well-Adjusted Child, a Parent's Manual, in the very back, there's chapters for everything that we're talking about today. And I recommend that you go in as your children evolve and answer the questions in the back every year. Go in there and look at that. And I'm sorry, it's been killing me. I keep thinking like all these things that we talk about with the planning, there's the questions in the back of the book that people can go in there to do. And so when we're going in and we're looking at adapting as our children grow, they need something different from us.
Mhm.
Every year they're changing, right? They go from being infant to walking. They need something different from us. From being with you all the time to going to preschool, they need something different. Going to school, every age and stage requires some different time and attention, a change of rules, a change of discipline, a change of permissions our abilities grow, right? We
Yeah.
learn more, our physicalness, we can do more. And so making sure that we're adapting that parenting purpose as our kids are growing and changing, how they're learning, the friends that they're making, things like that are going to change.
Yeah. And what I would also add to that, right, as your parenting strategies are growing, evolving, I think there's a piece that we're not going to get to talking about today, but I'm sure we'll revisit it. Is I think sometimes those strategies are harder to figure out because there's been grief, loss, and trauma.
Sure.
right? So, for example, if your child all of a sudden is having anger outbursts, right? And it could be because you just moved or there was a divorce, separation, right? And
Sure.
they're going into a new school. They don't like the teachers, right? So like whatever calmed them down previously is not may not work anymore because the symptoms have increased, right? So I think when we're thinking about parenting strategies, I think we got to take into consideration like there are traumas that happen in our lives and we have to be very mindful of how we're showing up in our parenting, which is what, when I said previously, consequences and punishment look very different. And most of us, most parents go directly to punishment
Hmm.
until they realize the punishment ain't working anymore because they're doing whatever they want anyway, right? And
Right.
then the other piece to it is that I think whatever your parenting strategies are, consistency is very important and follow through.
Hmm.
If you are not consistent in your discipline and you don't follow through on the threats that you make, you're not going to get no compliance.
You have no credibility. You have no credibility as a parent to your child if you don't follow through. And
Yeah,
that's
they're going
that.
to think you're bluffing.
Yeah, they don't. And really I always tell my parents, be careful of the consequences that you lay down. When you punish your child, you're punishing yourself in a sense. So be cautious of that. Watch out for the threats that you're going to make of your children. You're never going to watch TV in this house. You won't watch TV for a month in this house. How many TVs do you have? Where do you monitor them? How are you going to monitor that? Who's going to sit
That
there?
or what do you do when you need them out of your ear?
Right, exactly. So then what are you doing with them? Because now they're climbing the walls or doing something else or getting, so you must make sure that you lay down a rule that is going to be able to be sustainable, manageable. Anyway, that's another whole topic. But yes, I agree. So as we're going through and adapting our parenting strategies, right, what's going to work for a 2-year-old is not going to work for a 15-year-old.
Mhm.
So we have to make some changes and modifications to that. So make sure that we do that. And I think this is, the last couple ones are really important, positivity, fostering that positive atmosphere that encourages growth and learning. It's so important that we do instill that growth mindset in our kids and encourage them to try new things. But again, if they're being raised by parents that don't have a growth mindset, that's going to be very hard to instill that in them. So if you are struggling with that as a parent, reach out to myself or Dr. Q. We've probably got resources that we can share with you to help you with that. We've got other live streams and podcasts. I mean, I know there's a person who does live events on LinkedIn right now, but there's lots of ways to do that. So you want to instill that positive atmosphere that encourages growth and learning. Encourage your children to try new things. You can set boundaries and parameters. Like Dr. Q said, you can try one new thing. Maybe it's one new thing every quarter. Maybe it's one new thing a year. You decide what it is that they can try and do and
Yeah.
encourage. And elementary school is a great age for kids to try things. There's lots of clubs for kids to go into. It doesn't cost parents a lot. It's really just picking up a ride from school. And high school also gives a great opportunity for kids. There's lots of team sports and activities and clubs for kids to try new things. And it really doesn't cost parents a whole lot for those different events, usually in the
Yeah.
school areas. And then there's other things like Girl Scouts and other organizations that they can try things out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I have a lot to say about fostering positive environments, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But for the sake of our time, and, maybe tabling that for another episode,
Sure.
let's go into number 6, which is playful. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I can't tell you how important this is. I mean, all of them are important, but don't forget to have fun. There's
Yes.
times in therapy where, you know, I'm like, why do we have to like talk all the time? Let's just play, right? Because families are not playing at home.
Mm-mm.
So that hour when they come into session, We're doing social skills. We're sharing. I'm seeing their personality. I'm seeing how mom and dad are showing up, or both of the parents, or not. I'm seeing all these dynamics through just natural play.
Sure.
Play teaches you so much. And play can like lower the tension too.
Yes.
So
It
be
can.
playful. Think of creative ways to have fun with your kid. Be curious about why they like gaming, right? Like learn something new, teach them something new. Don't be turned off by things that you find weird, right? Like get in their world. That's what purposeful parenting is. Get in your child's world to understand it instead of just brushing it off.
Oh, I love that. The best that you said that. Get into their world. I love that. I think that's the perfect definition for purposeful parenting. I like that.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to add another P, Dr. Tanya, because I
Okay.
was thinking
All
about,
right.
we got to end with a bang, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So the last P, the seventh one, actually is two P's combined. I'm going to say practice what you preach.
Yes.
Don't go around telling your kids, lower your voice, right? No shoes in the household, but you going around and doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Practice what you preach.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't practice what you preach, they're not going to take you seriously. They're not going to pay you no mind. And kids are very vocal nowadays. They're like, well, you don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Modeling.
Modeling is very, very important.
You're your child's first teacher. And so if they're seeing you do it, they're probably going to emulate that behavior and do it. So I do think that, and I want to go back to playful as well. You know, playful, there are times to instill and incorporate playful in your home. And I encourage you to do it, to sit with your kids, to play a game, even in the car, a silly game, to that when they create the best memories for your family. You're usually laughing, like you said. You know, I remember a time, and this is funny, I know we have a few minutes left, but have you ever thrown snaps, Dr. Q?
No.
So throwing a snap means I just kind of throw that at you and you pick it up. So like if you're throwing a ball, like I throw that and then you catch it back. And we sat on the couch and threw snaps and laughed. And it was so fun. So like I'd snap and my daughter would act like she caught the snap. And then
Nice.
I snap to my husband and it cost nothing. And we had the best time laughing and just being silly. And so
were they fighting over the snaps too? Who caught it?
You know, it was, I'd trick you and throw it. Yes, of course. There was always somebody trying to do something silly and it was just fun. You know, it was just fun.
No, it sounds like, you know what my go-to favorite game is?
What's
Adults, children, anybody? Categories.
Yeah?
Categories. All right.
Yeah.
Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Let's name them. Let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played that game so many times in the car with different people. You can never go wrong with it.
I love that.
Categories. And you're right. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to be creative. You can make anything fun.
You can. You really, really can. Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So with that, guys, we do gotta end. But we will be back next month. We're finalizing our schedule. Ramzan is around the corner, so that's gonna change up my schedule a little bit. So we may have an earlier session in February or maybe 2 in March. But we are really looking forward to, being back here and giving you some great guidance, support, and disseminating information. So yeah, think about it. Think about everything we talked about, purposeful parenting. Start journaling, start writing, reach out to a family therapist. Like, you don't have to have a problem to go to therapy. It could just be fine-tuning things and enhancing it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So with that, you know where to find me. Here in Towson, Google Umid Center, and it'll come right up. There's no other Umid Center in the U.S. for healing relationships, right? And Dr. Tanya, your book is out there on Amazon, and
Yes, it is. It's out on Amazon, and you can check me out at creativelivingIdeas.com. I'm going to go through the last thing here, these 6 key principles. Purposeful parenting are being purposeful, being protective, recognizing their personality, progressive, adapting your parenting strategies, positive atmosphere, playful, and the last one was
Practicing what you preach.
practice what you preach. All right, everybody, have a great night. It was great to see you all. Take care. Bye now.
Take care. Bye bye.